You're listening to The Angry Designer, where we cut through the industry bull to help frustrated graphic designers survive and thrive.
Honestly, I have been smelling this in my mind all day. This is some damn good bourbon that we tried last week, and it's just like, it's been hard for me not to get into that this week.
You've been good. Yes, it is quite nice.
This one is. It's. But the funny thing is, it's not like a really high end. Nobody's really like breaking down doors
To get this.
to get this.
Our little secret then.
This is kind
We
of
won't
something.
tell anybody.
This one. Well, too late. Look, if you're on our site, there you go.
shoot.
If you're on our YouTube, you can see. I'm not going to say what it's called, but there's an old Forester type of story here. Yeah,
Run, Forrester, run.
Run, Forrester, you old guy, you.
Well,
Cheers, cheers,
salute.
cheers,
It's certainly
cheers.
better than that.
Some of the
Jack
other
that
stuff
we had
that
last time.
Oh, you weren't too thrilled about that one, eh?
I did not like that. It was like a fire in my belly. Whereas this is like a nice warm blanket.
Fire in my belly. Oh, this one is really nice, though.
It's
So
really
the
good,
challenge
man.
with this is not to have
A lot.
a lot of it.
Exactly.
All right, buddy, what's going on?
Hey, how's your day?
How's your day, Sean? Oh man,
Woo.
I came in thinking I was going to get caught up, and this Wednesday podcast thing is just it's not going to change, mind you. You know, we think back to Tuesdays; they were very much the same.
Yeah, they were.
What the hell?
And it was harder because it was closer to.
Right.
You didn't have much time.
Where
there.
now it's like tomorrow's that holy shit day. It's like it's Thursday.
Yeah,
I've only got a
exactly.
day left after today. Like, yeah, right.
And everything's due tomorrow. And it's just
Yeah.
like, oh, jeez.
I know. That's all right.
But
though.
anyway, it's good. It's better than the alternative, right?
Which is
Nothing.
What?
No work.
Oh
Yeah, right?
You know, and I know people who
Imagine
are
that.
suffering from that. I have friends and they have shops, and you know what? They never made the transition to digital.
Oh.
They thought that they could still run, and don't get me wrong, there's always a place for print.
Right.
Always, especially if you niche into it.
Yes.
Right?
True.
And a lot of these shops, they didn't make that transition. Even recently, believe it or not, in the past few years.
Come on.
Right? Like, it's just like, no, we're still going to run. And they get it. They do a lot of local work and stuff. But, you know, all of a sudden they've slowed down. And, you know, what's going on? Why
Yeah.
are you at that spot? And nobody will ever admit to it, but I have to kind of think that it has to do with, you know, some of it has to do with the fact that they don't have any sort of digital prowess. I don't know. I mean, again, it's such a huge part. It's not like, look, we are not a web shop. I would
No.
never advertise ourselves as a web shop.
Certainly not. But websites are part of what we do. And
A
other
huge
places,
part.
they won't touch this kind of
Yes.
thing. Wow.
I know, right? It's hard to believe that people still won't. And actually, and it even shocks me to think that there's actually places that just do websites. Like there's a company in town here, and they're just a web shop. And
that's it.
Not like a web shop like we are. They're almost like an a la carte. You want this kind of menu. You want this. It's kind of like an old school way of doing it, but they're still, I mean, there's a market for that too.
Interesting.
So yeah, it is kind of funny. You know, I used to sell it to customers as, you know, you have all kinds of different designers. You need a website? Here's the different levels of website. And I'd actually, well, what I would do is I'd be like, okay, first and foremost, you have freelancers, right? Freelancers are at this price range. And I'd be like, I'd start off at like $500 and I'd go up to like $4,000 or $5,000. And I'd be like, you know what, you know, these are freelancers. You know, the good thing about freelancers is, you know, a lot of times, you know, you can get a really a good high-end talent for a really decent price.
Yeah.
You know, they can be really great and personable because you're just dealing with them one-on-one. And, you know, you can get a lot done with a
Yes.
freelancer.
Yeah.
Disadvantages, of course, freelancers can disappear.
Yes.
Or sometimes, since they're a one-man operation or one-woman operation, they could get overwhelmed and
Yep.
you become a back burner. Or they take a full-time job somewhere and you become an after-hours gig.
Yep.
And, you know, sometimes they can also disappear.
Yes. And they
Right?
just- yes.
So I'd sell them as that. Then I'd be like, you have that next level company, right? Price ranges from like $3,000 to like $15,000, right? And this literally, like I can show you our quote dog, right? I'd be like,
Yeah.
these are the web companies, right? These companies, they're just web companies. They're primarily technology focused, right? So they don't have any marketing background. They don't have, you know, huge design background, but they're very technically savvy.
Right.
They often have their own content management system.
Oh, okay.
Or, you know, they specialize in like WordPress or whatever. And you know, they will help you build a website. But a lot of them are very theme based, template based. And it's like
a Wix kind of
well,
thing, but
or
better.
WordPress,
Oh, okay.
or you know,
Yeah.
sometimes they have their own proprietary content management
I
system,
see.
right?
Gotcha, yes.
And it's like, you know, so they're technically very good,
Mm-hmm.
but where they can't help you is, you know, if you need help outside of just the technology aspect, if you need some brand work, you need some creativity outside, some
Right.
positioning, anything like that.
They've got to say, nope.
That's
we don't
not
do
really
that.
their specialty. They'll claim they can do it.
Yeah, but-
that's not really what they do, right?
right.
You know, the good thing about those shops, of course, technically savvy. The bad thing and price, because they're generally in that nice middle range. But the bad thing is they can't offer the rest. You know, and then again, we'd put them in that range as low as 3, high as 15, 20 if there's customization. So they can be budget friendly, but the company would have to have somebody in place to manage, build all that, right? And then I would position us, and I'd be like, then you have agencies like us, right? Agencies, of course, you know, anywhere from like 10, 15 grand all the way up to, you know, 40, 50, 60 grand and more, depending on the customization.
Right.
Okay. Often have technology prowess. You know, I guarantee you that, you know, our senior programmers are just as good as the guys at these shops.
Totally.
Okay. If not better, because you know, fucking rock.
Yep.
But, you know, they also have the benefit of having the other side. So we have the marketing side, the branding, the understanding that we could grow it so much more. Right. And then, you know, and so this is what you get more, but there is a price to it. Right.
Right.
You'll end up with still, you know, an equally incredibly good quality website, as in like technically speaking, but you'll have a far superior, you know, UX experience, because we're not trying to now take your company and stick it into our mold. Right. Like these other shops, we are literally building the site for you and using our awesome technology ninja skills to build that site. Right. So that's, and then again, I'm like, you know, and then our price point within that range is like X dollars and this and that. So it's kind of like, it almost lets right off the bat, like this kind of goes into that pricing conversation we had before.
Exactly.
This is a tactic, almost like the anchoring where I would use and be like, hey, you know what? Right off the bat, if you've only got a budget of $5 grand, we're nowhere near where you are. But if you want more than just like somebody who can, you know, be a monkey and do what they're told. All right. But before we get too deep into this, I just want to remind everybody, please, by all means, pause right now, head over to Spotify or onto Apple or to whatever and give us a review, even if it's like something that you're curious about or you're like, I don't know what I'm in for, but I'm curious. By all means, you know, literally hit us up, because this is how we're able to reach out to more people, is by the reviews that we get and how far we spread out. Right?
Perfect.
All right. That brings us to
our topic today.
Our topic literally is, you know, do graphic designers need to code websites? Do they need to learn coding? Do they need to be able to code a website regardless, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's legit.
Yeah.
Because again, I can tell you for sure, I know shops that they're suffering when they're relying on third parties and this, not that it's impossible, you know, but when they're like, oh, you know, we don't do web internally, but we're going to just farm it out to you.
Yes.
Well, we also do everything else they do. And if all of a sudden the relationship with the customer jives one way or another, it's hard to then, that line gets really gray, you know?
Exactly. It's like, okay, I'm paying this agency for my print work and I'm paying this agency for my web work. When this agency can do all the print stuff, why wouldn't I just write one check over to these guys?
And only because the web has become like your primary source of like, well, it's the hub of all your brand, your marketing material. It's, you know, like, I get it. You know, they'll hear about you on social. Your reputation's huge over there. And I get it. Maybe, you know, like ads placed here or billboards placed there make a big impact. But ultimately, sooner or later, people will end up on your website. They're so curious what that web presence is.
Big time.
Especially if you're selling product on the web, because it's that 24-hour repository of content and almost legitimacy. So, you know, you start getting into a company's website and doing all their web brand and this and that on an ongoing basis. Everything else just kind of tends to follow, in my opinion. I think it's hard to hold back one piece and, you know, and in my opinion, anyway.
No, I think it's crazy. It's for an agency to say, somebody would approach an agency, hey, do you guys do web stuff? No. We don't. It's just like you're shooting yourself in the foot there. Whereas I know you would go, well, whatever it is we don't do, at least we'll sure try.
I'll learn this weekend. Give me till Monday. I'll be an expert on it.
Exactly. You almost kind of, it's almost like a willing, like, I don't want to bother with this web presence.
Absolutely.
Which, maybe 10 years ago, that might have been a legit thing. But nowadays, exactly like you said, you this is your 24-hour repository where I can find out all I need to know about this company.
Yep.
And you're not going to do this for me.
Yeah, right. And you're not going to do this for me.
Yeah, it's
and the thing is, graphic designers have such a huge in at this stage because we're often brought in, when somebody either it's the beginning of a company or they need a logo refresh or a brand overhaul. Yeah. We're brought in usually at a really good time, and we're dealing with the head people that have, they're in charge of this kind of information, right? We're brought in, I guess you can think, you can be like at the ground level. Yeah. And once you start building out, your logo, your brand, then it's very natural to be like, hey, well, let's talk about your digital. What's your website game like? What's the message you're doing on that? Does it match the existing brand that we just created? Yeah. What about your social game? Like, we are perfectly positioned for that transition. Yes. So, it's insane to think that, what are you going to do? You're going to pass it off or you're going to stay involved, right? So, we have that initial advantage because, we're at that ground floor. So we need to take it. Like, we absolutely need to take it. We're constantly, and this is a for sure thing, we are constantly needing to expand our skills and incorporate digital into everything that we do. Yeah. So, this whole question, do we, don't we, need to start learning how to code and everything? I don't know. That comes up all the time. Yeah. And I think that's a lot of pressure.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Right? It comes down to like, are we expected to be unicorns? You always hear unicorns. Are we expected to do it all type thing, right? Right. And honestly, it's like, I remember having to go through this.
This is exactly it.
Definitely didn't work for me too much, right?
Yeah.
It definitely different.
Did you do the web stuff? Did you try to?
So, there was, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, and again, not, okay. So let's go back to when we started, right? Like when we started, there was no web really. Like,
no, there wasn't.
It was literally, we would have to unplug the fax machine. The fax machine. And we would have to plug in the modem and it would do that screechy thing and you'd check your email. You'd be lucky if you got one email a day. You're pimping if you got one email.
Yeah, you were
right?
busy.
Right. But it's true. Like this, late 90s, early 2000s, it was so like, it was so far, but that changed. And then one thing that, I made sure I was always going to be doing is keeping up on, all innovations. Yeah. And that's what did help us ride this whole company. Like when we started, there was 34 other agencies in this little town of ours. But within literally halfway point from then till now, right, there was only 4 of the same companies because most of them didn't want to make that transition. Really? They didn't know how to make the transition from traditional print to where we are, to what was at the time, which was web. Yeah. Right. And I granted it was the pendulum really swing far one way to the other. Yep. But there was a point where, at the beginning, I had to learn, how to incorporate more Dreamweaver back then, right? And then learn some basic HTML and some basic CSS back then, right? And that was very, 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 very limited knowledge, right? Yes. But it became really, really apparent to me not only how important it was to an agency, but the skill set required to genuinely be able to deliver that right service, right? Like we started going, and it was very apparent that, our skills were definitely in the design, marketing, branding side. Yes. But I knew technology was coming. Yeah. And again, we were whirling. We ended up finding this great little content management system at the time, and it was cool and it was really new for its time because the only options that we knew was this and WordPress, I believe it or not, it was still around back then. And then I guess what had happened is that company, somebody was buying the technology for that company, but they didn't want the clients. Oh, so that company came to me and they're like, "Hey, would you be interested in buying our client list?" Oh. So essentially buying half the company. Yeah. The one deal was just to take the technology. Right. They wanted to make sure their clients were well taken care of. So the other half was, do you want to take care of our clients from this point forward? You're buying our client list. We'll do all the introductions. Good luck from there. Yeah. And then with that being said, the staff that was being let go, I was totally, open to try to hire them, which that's where our lead developer right now, that's where he came from.
Really?
Yeah, you didn't know that, right?
I did not know
So that's why
that.
he's been with us forever. So literally.
And this is the same content management system that we use now.
Oh God, no. No.
It's not.
Here's the best part. Wait.
Okay.
Here's the best part. So of course, Jamie and I are meeting, we're talking, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, so I guess you heard, we bought the other half of the company this and that. And I understand all the clients are on this content management system that you guys had. So, now that, you're working for us now, because he was happy to, sure, I'll work with you. I'm like, okay, so what's the first thing you want to do? And he goes, the first thing I want to do, find a better content management system, because that one sucks. And I'm just like, what? Like I just paid all this money. Back then, it was a shitload of money.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, it sucks.
It's no good.
It sucks. Good thing he's like, good thing you didn't buy the technology, because you would have got swindled. But in the end, I got the more important part, which was I got the customer list.
Yeah.
And he was one of the only developers who knew how to actually run the content management system. And the other company, they used it for themselves internally at first. So they did a real shit job. So, I mean, for us, it was just like hit up every single one. Hey, we're the new company. We want to take your company now from where you are to the future. Right. And that's what we did. And of that client list, I think, we only got about half, but it was the important half that we got. It was all the technology companies.
Yeah.
It was the introduction to the important people that then took us and propelled us into our clients for life mentality. Nice. So it worked really, really, really well. Yeah. But literally the first thing he said is, I want to find a new content management system. And that's how we got to the one we have now. First one he found, and he's like, you know what? I researched him. This one's great. This is why.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, so he, again, senior developer back then, he was just a very good. Now he's like, he's king. He's a lead. He knows everything.
He's a god.
Right. But again, I knew how fast it was happening, and we needed to keep adjusting.
Yeah.
So even though initially I learned how to do some HTML and some CSS and some JavaScript just to get by early on.
Right.
There was no way I was able to do the kind of stuff that he's doing.
Exactly.
And that's when it was just like, you know what? I'm of no value. I'm only getting in your way. Let me do what I do well. Let me do the front end. Let me just keep selling. Let me just keep bringing in clients, and we'll keep growing it that way.
Yeah.
So,
but you still maintained at least an understanding of how it
had to.
How it goes down.
I definitely did. Yeah. Okay. And I genuinely believe that graphic designers who have a basic understanding of the web development processes and common languages and the basic web infrastructures, right? The better understanding you have that, then the better you can, estimate jobs, quote jobs, right? Understand what the technical limitations are of what it is. So I'm not saying code that shit, right? I honestly, my coding skills were very minimum, at that point, but I understood that shit. And I think that is the most important part. It's not necessarily the doing, it's the understanding.
The understanding of it,
right? And that's the biggest, and that's what I'm thinking where most graphic designers fall.
Yeah.
Right? They don't have to necessarily have to have the chops to program all these languages, because again, it's not necessarily what you're doing well. I mean, again, you want to succeed. Yeah. You succeed by doing what you do well. Yeah. And everything else, you get other people to do that shit for you.
Just in order to expedite things, I think.
And quality.
Yeah, and quality, but still. But I may be getting ahead of us here, but it's like I did the same thing that you did. I took Dreamweaver courses and stuff like that.
Oh, Dreamweaver!
Do you believe they even still have that on the Adobe Suite? Like, who uses that?
What's funny when I have interviews, and I'm like, so do you know any web, any code? I know Dreamweaver. And they're proud that they do, and I'm just like, oh my God, bless you, child. You're so sweet. It's like next. But it's true.
But the thing with that, and we did learn CSS and HTML and stuff like that. So it was really good, and I started tinkering around with it.
Yeah, I remember.
And it's a lot like working the computer with your left hand, because it's so awkward. It's such a weird construct. The whole
it's not style. What we want to do. It's not what we
exactly it. It's hard. Yeah, yes. It's a difficult angle. It's not you obviously a designer didn't design.
I know. Thank God for that.
An engineer thing, right? But still, I mean, I remember making a website very, very slowly, but it looked good.
Well, yeah, right. Because again, that's why programmers hated us,
right?
Because they were like, oh, you're fucking creating magazine sites.
Yeah.
You know, you'd always sit there and say, you can't give me a magazine site because we wouldn't know the technical limitations of what could and couldn't be done. We were just like, well, why can't you make it look like this? You're a web guy. I remember the early days when I would design something, sell it to a customer, give it then to programming, and they come back and I'm like, what the hell is this? What I gave you? And he's like, what are you doing? If you'd stop selling magazine bullshit sites. And she's like, but that's what I'm selling. So I remember, and then half the challenge was trying to figure out how to warp the code in order to make it happen.
Right.
So back then we were able to screw around a lot. I mean, back then Flash was still cool and
Flash
big.
was cool, yep.
Tables were huge. Nothing's done in tables anymore. But back then, frames and tables, you were almost trying to cheat the system to kind of achieve this look that, really wasn't supposed to actually work. But had I had a little better understanding then of just how the shit works. Right. I think in the end, the frustrations would have been. We had some doozy arguments, man. We used to yell like, "What the hell? Like, why? I thought you knew how to program. I thought you knew how to design." Like, it was so that Mac PC commercial, dude.
Yes.
Wow. So I think, and I know that struggle still happens.
Yeah.
And I know because we've still had freelancers that we've hired work out to, and they come back and their websites look very pretty, but they're not to web standards like they are now. And that's a pretty challenging thing to try to get people to. If you're not willing to make that jump, your time is limited in this space.
Yeah, this is true. This is true. Well, think of that. The last couple of websites that we've done.
Yep.
There's not a lot of time in there to, to be fucking around, so to speak. So, yeah, you want to make sure everybody's place and is in the right spot and knows exactly what they're doing. You don't want any kind of variables.
Exactly, right?
Designers fucking around. So, surprises, exactly.
Well, and I'm proud to say that I think our last site that we launched a couple months ago, it was an awesome site. And, it literally, what we designed and showed them flat is what we delivered in the end. And there was no surprises to the clients. There was no surprises. We almost hit our deadlines, like literally, like within 2 weeks.
Yes.
It went so, and I we were talking about it today because we were adding some new functionality to it. And it was just like, it's like it finally all worked.
Yeah.
It's like I almost want to stop now because we hit it. We did it.
We done it. Yeah.
And
mic drop.
Right. This was the web mic drop. And even the SEO rankings have improved. Like everything that everything we've what do you call that? The cultivation of everything over the past, it all worked. It just kind of came together. So that was finally
awesome. Yeah, that's so good.
So it worked really well in that sense, right? So
yes, yeah.
So I think key for graphic designers, honestly, is, and I can't stress this enough. No, I don't think that graphic designers need to learn how to code. But I do think they need to have a solid, strong understanding of the foundations, of the differences, right? About everything in between, right?
Yeah, yes.
So the very, very high level basics.
Yeah.
Okay. And I can't stress this enough. So I don't need any fucking programmer hitting us up being like, you don't know, man. You don't know the difference between backend and Python. Dude, this is not what this is about. Okay. I'm going to tell you what has worked well for me over the past X amount of years. Right. Okay. And it's been a couple more years than 1 or 2. And again, what has helped us win a ton of money. Okay. A ton of awesome jobs and a ton of global jobs. Right. So I break things down into basically 2 parts, right? You've got the front end and you've got the back end. Right. Okay. So the front end is basically anything that's client facing. This is the client facing shit, right? This is the stuff that the customer sees, the public sees. Now, again, there is gray area and there can be, some people can be like, oh, well, the front end can also be the back end. Okay, fine, fuck off. I'm talking about, for the most part, front end, back end. The front end is what the customer sees. It's public facing. This is what people read, what they experience, what they scroll through. Right. This is the visual front end side of the whole user experience. Right. Okay. Yes. And 90% of the time, maybe even 95% of the time. Okay. Yes. So with front end websites, front end even apps, web apps, and all this. Right.
Yeah.
for the most part, this is where you're going to hear terms like HTML and CSS and JavaScript, right? It's basically mostly the style, and the structure. So HTML.
Yep.
Okay. Most, common, everything's built in HTML online, right?
Yep.
And it's basically the main building block for designing websites, the structure, of the entire website or the app or the front end, the landing page, whatever, right? So that's HTML.
Yep. Right.
The CSS controls the design elements.
Right.
Okay. So this is now, you can actually approach CSS 4 or 5 different ways for every HTML page, right?
Oh.
Like you can, 4 or 5, 100 ways. It's unlimited, right?
Nice.
But the CSS basically controls the look, the feel, the style, the colors, right? That's the design portion of this,
Right.
okay? And then JavaScript, which I'm sure everybody hears about here and there, which, yes, I get that JavaScript can be used on the back end. That's not what this is about, though. But basically, JavaScript is all the interactions that people have, the interactive elements on the front end, all the dynamic shit, right? So this is kind of what makes up the whole front end. What people see, they look, they experience, they feel, right?
Yeah.
Then we've got the back end, right? And this back end is also known as like the server side. Okay? So this is everything about how it's built. Okay? How it's built, the structure, the databases, the code that actually powers whatever functionality, like the give and receive functionality that you're getting, right? That's all down in the back end, right? This consists of both programming, language, custom language, but also like the hardware, the servers and such.
Right.
Okay. So there is there's 2 very different parts of the back end, but again, they work in unison. Okay. And then, this is where the basic logic of the system comes from, right? Where all the information is housed, where it's placed, where it's pulled from, right? So this is very much like the engine of the entire website. Okay. So it's kind of like the front end can be like the shell of the car, right? Where this is kind of like the engine.
Yes.
This is what this is what makes it, come to life.
Right.
This isn't just the flat aesthetic portion of it, right? Very important.
It's like the coders and all those guys, they're like the builders, the framers.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then the front end guys are like the guys who stage the rooms, put the carpets down and put all the pictures on and all the stuff like that.
Maybe even the brickwork
and
the fascia,
something like that. Yeah,
right. All that. But one is foundational stuff, right?
Yeah, it's not the fundamental
stuff. That's a good analogy.
I don't know. I read that and I thought, that kind of makes sense.
I think that's. I think that's pretty solid. So ultimately, think of it exactly like that, right? The front end is everything that you see that runs in the browser.
Yeah.
Okay. That runs on the laptop, even runs without being connected to the internet, right? And then the back end is everything that basically comes and happens from the server. Right. So the 2 things, they work together, right? So again, server is like everything when you start hearing terms like PHP and Ruby, right? These are all some of the big heavy end type of programming languages that are done, right? Yes. Yeah. Right. So again, I don't know any of that shit.
Yeah, I know.
Right. This is all where, Jamester is like the king on, right?
He's the man.
But again, I don't need to know that because again, this is so, I just need to know how they function.
Yes.
Right. And again, the difference between the 2. So, the most important thing to notice is that they're mostly separate. Okay. Those 2 components are mostly separate. The graphic designer or the UX designer focuses on the design portion, right? The HTML, the CSS, and then turns this into the front end that you basically look, you feel, you function with, you execute on, right? And then, and all that happens in the browser. And then that communicates with everything in the back end. Okay. So the front end is designed, placed, we build that out, and it communicates with the back end. This is really stupid, simple kind of explanation of it. But honestly, like this is kind of the basics of what you need to know. Our realm, when we're talking to customers, is mostly that whole front end side.
Yes.
And that's where you can make a huge fucking living just doing the front end. Where the capabilities, you start understanding, when you're building website, how to make it work within grids, how to make it work within columns, right? What happens when it turns to responsive, right?
Right.
But again, you don't need to know how to do this stuff.
Right.
You just need to understand what happens when you do that, right? And I think that's That's the biggest thing that we got to realize. Like, you don't give up and be like, no, I want nothing to do with it, because you don't have to learn how to code it. Because there are people that you can pass off this front end work to and have them take it to that next level, and make it, make it interactive, make it alive, make it ready to go online to the web.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, totally. And this is where I would think it's good to have someone who has a good understanding of that sort of thing, but also a good understanding of design too.
Oh, dude! Like, I mean, that's
is this a thing?
Well, I mean, so this is where it's like, you could call yourself a full stack developer.
Is that what that is? Okay.
Well, that in theory could go all the way from front end all the way to back end.
Right.
Okay. Now, those are the true unicorns in this space.
They are. Okay.
I haven't yet. I'm not saying they don't exist. So hit me up. But I mean, a lot of times when guys are like, "Oh, I'm full stack, man. I can fucking design and this," and then I'm like, "Really? Let me see your stuff." Their front end is shit.
Comic Sans.
It's like, the Comic Sans all over the place. No, dude, it's bad, but it's true. I think, in that case, often they don't give enough credit to designers and what they're capable of.
This is true. Yes.
Okay. Yes. So this is where it's a huge difference. But then at the same time, you've got, on the other spectrum, you've got, people that are totally going in other directions, like UX designers. I full-heartedly believe in UX, of course, but I personally believe in UX as a part of being a graphic designer.
Yes.
Because I think, when it comes to making a living, and not that UX designers, they're hot right now. Being a UX designer is a hot thing right now, and a ton of interaction is happening. But what happens is, for every one large company that could employ a full-time UX designer, there's going to be 100 small companies that would only have an occasional project for a UX designer.
Right.
So it's much better. It's far better to be a graphic designer. Often graphic designers are the UX designer.
Right.
And to be honest, I mean, the only difference is depth of the UX designer. It's only how many more personas and user journeys and mapping could you... Often a lot of it's bullshit. And unfortunately, and I get it, we've done it. I remember we had one customer and they're like, "Oh, sorry, you can do a card exercise with us?" And I'm like, "Oh, fuck. Do you really?" Yeah. I mean, we heard about this. We want a card exercise. And I'm just like, okay,
right,
here you go. And I go through the dance and journey. The outcome was worse than what we were proposing initially. Because, I mean, it was just like trying to herd fucking cats, right? And I get it. And then, well, that's a whole nother story.
I hope you soaked them then anyway.
We did.
Okay, good.
Just because of stupidity. But no, I'm not saying that. But I mean, the reality is, for every full-time UX job out there, and some of them are great, and some of them pay incredibly well, and they are valuable at that level. There is so many, 100, if not hundreds, of smaller companies that couldn't employ a UX designer, really couldn't. So what do you do? Is it more fruitful to be a graphic designer who can do UX, who understands user experience, who can actually take, a project and wireframe that damn thing and help it actually get to coding language, right?
Yes.
Like it's essential to becoming a progressive graphic designer in these days.
Yes.
It is, to understanding how tech works.
Yes.
Like it's essential to our industry, dude. We have to.
Yeah.
If
only somebody did a podcast on on specialists or
specialists,
or
generalists.
generalists.
Yeah. Speaking of.
Anyway,
no. Honestly, it's having that skill set just gives you that little bit extra to so you can you understand what the industry vocabulary is, the capabilities, right? Again, by no means I would never ever try to tell anybody or even try to fool anybody into thinking that I am a programmer, because I'm not like Jamie. Jamie's a programmer, right? That dude's rock star.
He's like, what'd you say? He's like black screen, the whole 9 yards.
Oh my God, right? Black screen.
Yeah,
right.
Like it's that's fucking
right?
Can you imagine?
Yeah,
can you imagine working like that?
Right?
Like that. That's awesome.
So I could never do that, but I understand what is required on that end. I understand what's required on my end. I can have eloquent conversations with the network engineers at companies when they want to know. They're asking all the questions about our websites and what are we going to do and what about our CMS and what's the CMS. Like that's a whole other thing, right? Like content management systems are such a farce. Honestly, it's wait. I just said farce. What I meant to say was it's a bunch of fucking bullshit. Okay, it really is. Well, because I mean, number one, Everybody talks about
PG-14
WordPress like it's fucking the end all be all, and
Come on.
it is.
How many problems have you had with that?
Oh my God! So out of the 100 plus websites we have less than 5% are WordPress sites.
Yeah.
Yet 90% of the support shit that we have to deal with is because of 2 or 3 of those WordPress sites. Because I mean they're so problematic. But what people don't understand is WordPress is nothing more than a content management system.
Right.
So if you follow this process, like we talked about, right? Think of it as a front end and a back end.
Yeah.
The front end of the website is dumb. It's flat, right? You can build it to do anything you want.
Yeah.
The content management portion, which is WordPress or Silverstripe or Drupal, if you want to go down that horrible road, but all these content management systems, all they do is basically feed content to the front end pages. That's
Right.
why they're called content management systems. They just allow you to manage the content on the website. So if you want, as a non-programmer, non-designer, non-front end person, want to go and edit code or edit something on your website, you log into a content management system which lives on the back end.
Right.
Okay. And that is what populates the website. That's what, there's no magic. Those two are completely separate. You could completely 100% have a website that's all front end and no, content management system.
Wow.
It's just a pain in the ass then to go in and make updates if you have to, right?
Right.
Content management system makes people's lives, people like non-technical people, makes their lives easier if they want to post a blog.
Yeah.
They want to make an update. They want to put pictures of whatever. They're a company gathering or this or that, right? That's all it is.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's not the end all be all, right? This is what I mean about like content management. People put so much, emphasis on that, but really it's just a mechanism to allow you to manage the content on a website, to grow the content on the website.
Yeah.
But it's not a web builder.
Yeah.
Okay, like WordPress isn't a web build. WordPress tries to be everything,
Yeah.
but again, ultimately, you use a content management system to update and manage the content on a website.
Yes.
That's it, right?
Yeah.
Like that's all you need to do.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, do I hate WordPress?
Every
Jeez.
time a client comes in and then says, "Yeah, we want to use the WordPress," you're just like, you can hear the groan.
Well, no. First thing I do is I set up a separate meeting with them, sit them down, I slap them.
This is
and
how
say,
bad.
Why? Well, I had it at my past jobs.
No.
You know what?
My past job. Yeah.
Okay. In all fairness, I had a programmer. We do have a programmer friend who enjoys programming in WordPress.
Nice.
But not really. But he has made me understand that
Good for him.
it's 99% of the WordPress sites out there have got a bad rep because of the people who use them. They create a theme, a template, and they sell that shit and they try to resell it. So when you go online and you're like, buy this website for $25 and it looks like this, well, when you get it, it doesn't look like that, right? It's a WordPress installation with this kind of management and this kind of plugin and blah 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 blah, right? His belief is use the WordPress engine and build everything. Don't subscribe to plugins and get all these downloads and this and that, because that's what causes all the hell and nightmare.
Right.
He built us a site once because a customer wanted it. It was okay. I'm not saying it was good. Our sites, I still like our content management system better, but oh, dude. What a nightmare though. Like that's another whole podcast altogether, is how much Moss hates fucking WordPress. Shit, dude.
Stay tuned, everybody.
Yeah, right. But honestly, if I have to think about, think about nothing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Over the past 25 years, I have, I can't say I've personally built, right? Because I don't code, but I have designed and executed and sold $20,000 websites, $50,000 websites, $100,000 websites.
Yeah.
I've continuously grown and grown and grown what we can do, and I can't write a single line of code.
Exactly.
To save my life.
Yeah.
I barely can. I don't even think I can do a basic HTML page with just a opening HTML tag and a closing HTML tag and a body text. And I can't even do that shit, right? But what I can do is I understand what it takes.
Right.
What the front end involves, what the back end involves, what the server side functions. If people need extra customized functionality within the website, I I couldn't tell you how to do it, but I know the components of code that is needed to do it.
Exactly.
I know what happens if somebody wants to integrate HubSpot, right? And what happens to that. I know what happens if people want to, have this security feature added to their site. Like, I don't need to code it. I just need to understand it. And I think that's the key here, that, graphic designers are so scared to maybe take that step. Like, we don't have to rely on the experts to do the stuff that's out. I mean, again, Jamie wouldn't come to us.
He would
he wouldn't try to design a logo, right?
Exactly.
He would come to us for that.
Yes.
He would say, "What I need to have this done. Can you help me out with this?"
Exactly.
Right? Just like for us for coding. Right? Absolutely, it has to happen like that.
Yeah, totally. And that's. But again, what you do in that scenario is you have an understanding, but you hire people that know this kind of stuff. You hire the experts to do in to these
execute.
spots. Yes,
exactly, and that's the whole point, right? Like, the part that graphic designers do is still, don't get me wrong, what programmers do is indispensable, right? They're geniuses. Our guy's genius. I have so many of our clients are brilliant engineers. Okay, this is just wow. Okay, I can't even compare but what we do is an entirely different thing than what they do, right? We, number one, are coming up with the vision, right? We're coming up with the idea. We're coming up with the site architecture, the wireframes, which represent the user journey, okay? Then we take it to another and make sure that user journey looks incredible, that the customer has all the information they need at the time that they need it as they scroll down on these friggin' pages, right? This is the shit that we do. And if we do it right, then we pass that off to our front end developer. Okay. And then he turns that into something that's functioning that then integrates into the back end.
Right.
Okay. And that back end then is what the other programmer does. So we have a front end developer and we have a back end developer, right? Those two guys are rock stars.
Big time.
Like,
big time.
What a huge difference compared to, like, 12 years ago, right? Like 12 years ago, it's like, as an agency, we could have done without. We really could have, right? It's like, maybe we could use a front end developer, but I'll do it myself, and we'll just. It doesn't even need a content management system. We'll just load it, right? We don't need a back end guy. We just need HTML. We need somebody who can help us out, right?
Right.
So it wasn't critical, but now, like, this business is absolutely critical on what our front end developers can do, what our back end developers can do. Like, it's just such a huge part that now they've become an indispensable part of the team. Just like you. Hopefully, like me.
I know. Like, that's the beauty of this kind of position, and our dude here, he started as a designer,
our front end guy, absolutely,
and worked his way up into this.
So he started as a graphic designer. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's just proof that absolutely, if you really want to go down that road, you can. And I mean, his personality type does actually lend itself.
He's very well suited for this.
He's very meticulous
and things have to be in a certain way, and it's just like, that's the kind of thing. I'm sloppy, and I went
only in the way you dress, Sean, and the way you eat.
The way I eat,
maybe drink.
I punish my food.
I've never heard that. That sounds wrong.
But yeah, like, you have to have that certain kind of that really precise attention to detail.
Right?
I remember, like, I was ready to throw my fucking computer through the wall. It was like some sort of code was broken when I was doing this website. It's just like,
dude, it's just proof, though, that you can make it. You can absolutely make the transition if you want to.
I think so. Yeah.
And now he is, he's our front end developer. And again, came from being a graphic designer.
Totally.
So there's nothing wrong with that by any means. It's absolutely within our skill set.
Yeah, I think it's a very select person, though. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not for everybody, I think, is
no. You're right.
We're talking about for that.
But again, exactly. And I mean, I can tell you 100%. I was not that person.
I know exactly, and that's what I was saying too.
But it didn't stop me from understanding how it all works, because I was curious, like we always talk about.
I know,
but I mean, it's that curiosity. How does it work? How does it work? When I hit send on this fucking form, what happens to it? Does it just disappear into the site? No, it goes. It populates into this database that lives on the back end. This is how the back end is. The database is in an Amazon server, AWS server. Like, there's so much to this that, again, don't be scared don't be scared of the technology side because you don't have to actually learn how to do it.
That's right.
You just have to understand how that whole cycle works, right?
Yes.
Like, how do you integrate HubSpot into a website or Salesforce into a website? What exactly do they do, right? Do you know that fucking HubSpot actually tries to tell you to use HubSpot as a content management system? Right? And from experience, it fucking sucks. We have had so many problems with customers because they'll be like, "Hey, we'll do it for free. Why do you need to pay somebody else to do it? We'll integrate your whole website into our HubSpot." And it's a disaster. But because they try to sell for free, the client thinks that it's a good deal. They jump all over it, and they have nothing but nightmare. Because again, it's not what it's good for. HubSpot's good for one thing, not good for everything. Not for good, not just good like WordPress, good for one thing, not good for everything.
That's right. That's right.
Oh, what a nightmare!
It's not something that you just use for everything, obviously. But why would they think that? I wonder.
Well, because again, who, the customer or HubSpot?
Just both people. Like obviously the customer wants to upsell to make some money off these people, but
the customer doesn't know any better. They're hoping it's an easier solution. Right. And the only reason we know is because we ask enough questions, and through experience, we remember the headache time and time and time again with this installation, that installation, that, and it's just like, dudes, like if you want to go down this road, it's it's your headache, not ours.
Yeah, exactly. We're not gonna deal with that. But I guess the customer wouldn't understand what HubSpot was.
No,
how bad
all,
this setup was.
That's why it's your job to be able to
be able to. And the funny, there's the awareness of this, right?
Yeah. I will tell customers. They'll come to me and tell me that. I'm like, whoa. Back the fuck up. Don't do this. And this is our experience. Just like when customers are like, again, they'll be like, oh, we want to use MailChimp. I'm like, hey, you want to use MailChimp? That's fine. But be aware of this and this and this and this. Again, I have never gone into MailChimp myself and created, a campaign and created this. But okay, the reality is I have known from experience from dealing it internally with some of the other team at the back and for some other companies that they use a little different kind of technology. Their programming language isn't as straight as other people. So it's like you start learning this stuff over and over. I don't have to do it myself. I just have to be aware, remember, and and just constantly be able to pass this information forward. Same with the coding. It's like a good graphic designer needs to continually evolve, okay, with the times. Otherwise, you know what? Like, we're going to be left way the hell back.
Big time.
Way the hell back. Big time.
Yeah. And that's the kind of thing that, nobody wants that. Nobody wants to be relegated to just a certain, this is all you can do. And then that would be terrible, just to be able just be doing print and for the rest of your life. You know what I mean?
Well, and I mean, especially when print becomes less and less and less.
This is the thing.
Maybe it's more targeted, more small, but I think for the most part, right now we're everything's a hybrid approach.
Yes, and that's exactly.
And I mean, think about it. If you create print, when was the last time you saw a print ad without a URL on it?
I know, right? Or a QR code or something like that.
Like it's always pointing back to something digital. Those two worlds have now merged permanently. And again, what are you going to do? I only handle the one side of the world, not the other side. I personally would rather have the whole damn cake, personally.
Exactly.
I am the belief that you can have your cake and eat it too, personally.
That's right.
So advantages of understanding code as a graphic designer, okay? And what I mean by code, again, everything we've talked about. Code, technology, how it works, right? No question about it. Number one, it reduces the conflict between designers and developers. Okay. It avoids magazine sites. Like I used to have my balls busted about on a regular basis. It clears up the communication between, designers and developers, clears up expectations. Okay. It keeps it realistic. And ultimately it really helps you understand what you can deliver competently to a customer, right? So you're not actually over promising because you know what you can deliver.
What's going on? Yes.
Okay, so that's number one. Number two, it avoids surprises. Like we talked about, you're not handing something over and the design gets completely lost in translation because it's a fucking magazine site, or because it's like you're not using a web-friendly font and now you have to use this extra plugin in order to make this work and that work. Now it's like when you're creating something and it goes to the coder, it's coming back the way you expected it to, right? Yeah. And again, it takes a little while to get to that, and that's why you need to understand web grids. You need to understand what CSS is and how it works, and then you can start building your ideas within the parameters of what's capable, not just so it's that whole design within the box type idea, right? Think outside a box but within the box,
within
the brief, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Number three, you're able to scope projects more accurately is a huge thing, right? Yes. Absolutely. Like by understanding all the different components of all the states and what's required and how much effort goes into each one of these, you can actually you can scope the time, You can scope the budget more accurately. And, you can become more profitable in that sense.
Right.
And it's a hell of a lot easier to start doing upgrades and upsells because like, hey, wouldn't it be great to add this?
Yeah.
Or, hey, you know what? How do we make this a more functional company tool for you until the website gets, starts picking up traction and shit, right?
Yeah.
So huge.
that's good.
You can speak tech more eloquently.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Because then what happens is, then you start, you're having conversations with their tech department.
Right.
All of a sudden you're gaining their trust, their credibility, right? You're able to answer the questions with confidence. So the customer's like, wow, I've really, got the right person on board here.
These guys know what they're talking about.
You're also able to ask the right questions from them. Where is this site going to be hosted? Do you want to host it internally? Like, in our opinion, that's crazy.
Yeah.
When you can get a external hosting, cloud host, like server for a fraction of the cost and you don't have no security risks.
Yeah.
Like these are some of the things that they're like, wow, you know what? You're
I
right.
didn't know that. Yeah.
I never thought about it that way because, I'm an IT guy and I want to own it all, but it makes no sense to have that vulnerability there for my network, right? You also have better control over the whole project, not just one part of it.
Right.
So again, you can come in at a project and start on the logo design part, right? Create the brand, create some of the messaging and have that grow, right? Some of the materials. But nothing sucks more than when they get this flashy web company to come in and start telling you how to dumb down your creative to fit their limited capabilities. And because they oversold what they could do, you're basically stuck in the middle between the customer and the web. And you can't tell the customer what it's their fault.
It's their fault.
Because they're the web experts.
Yeah.
It's your fault.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
again, you can't pull that shit, right? You can't have that. And ultimately, if you have this kind of knowledge, okay, it ultimately gives you badass credibility.
Yes.
Seriously, badass fucking credibility. Graphic designers who understand code and understand technology, right? Their credibility goes through the fucking roof.
Big time.
And I mean, honestly, that's long-term job security.
Yes.
Regardless if you're just doing it on your own or you're working for another company, right?
Yeah.
People they'll just basically open up their checkbook because they're going to trust you across the entire part, and that's what you want. You want to own the entire relationship, not just have a little part of it.
Yeah.
In my opinion, maybe some people might want just a little bit.
No, I absolutely think you're right there. It's like how many times has our big clients come to us and said, "Do you guys do this?" And it's like, yes, we do. We will do this. And because you have that knowledge, because you have that curiosity, it's like, yes, we do know exactly what we're doing.
Dude, every one of our clients, okay, that are big clients, okay, we got in there first, ground floor, doing small stuff. And then we grew the website. We grew the technology side. And again, I have I've been responsible for most of those upsells. And I seriously can't code a single line of code. I can't.
Cannot,
but
exactly.
I can put it all together, and I have the awesome team to make it all happen.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm not just like, some front end guy builds it and some back end guy codes it. So there you go, give me money. No. I can sit there and start building out. I can explain. And I can help them evolve their digital strategy.
Yes.
I can help them evolve their platform, their marketing platform, the e-learning material. I can help them build this entire vision, or I can build it for them, their vision, right?
Yeah.
Because I have the technical understanding of how to do it.
Exactly.
I don't have to know how to do it.
Yeah.
I just have to know how it's done.
Yes. You're not promising them anything they're not going to get.
Absolutely.
Yes, exactly. Because you understand what's going on within these parameters.
Absolutely,
which is great. That's absolutely perfect for a designer to know this kind of stuff.
Oh shit, dude!
For sure.
It's like totally. I don't want to learn how to code. Code in me just no. But just let me figure out the most important parts, and you know what? And people can't even call bullshit on it because honestly, I deliver everything that we sell. I finally had a good, in the past few years, been at that solid point, with our back end developers, with our front end developers. We're getting it. We're jiving.
Exactly.
We're like it's working. So
and this is the thing too, is you can go to the back end developer and not sound like an idiot. You know what I mean? Which
hell of a lot less arguing, that's for sure.
Exactly. It's like, hey, wait a minute. I know that this works with this. And
so true. Dude, it's so true, right? Well, and that's the other thing. By knowing this, you can call bullshit.
You can call bullshit on stuff. Exactly.
On other people too, not just your own team, but other people's team. When it's like their web team is like, it's just not capable of doing this because of WordPress plugin. It's like, well, actually, WordPress blows. Okay, so don't use WordPress because
don't
those
use it.
plugins are security. You have security flaws and they're security
It's like,
vulnerabilities.
Oh, what?
Oh, what?
Really? Okay, then there you go. That's a big upsell to the to the CMS that you want to use.
Wow, that's funny because that last website that we did just launch, the super successful one, was on a WordPress platform before.
It was on
Their
before.
old site, not now,
Yes.
not now, but it was.
Oh.
And it's just like now. So we could never get higher rankings. We were at this kind of ranking because Google, right? Like they've got their page load speed,
right?
So like their whole new what was it called, the experience factor or whatever, where it's like they would score you based on like how your website performs. But with WordPress, we could never get it to perform fast enough in the way it was currently set up. No matter what, we just couldn't do it. And it's just like now it's like we're in the top 90% for so Google loves the site and they're rewarding it with better SEO rankings. Knock on wood.
Yeah.
And again, the clients are happy because pages load up quicker.
That's
awesome. And man, that WordPress, we worked that thing to the bone, and it's just it could only do so much.
Yeah.
Right. Where right now it's like this new site, new design, new look, new performance, and it's just killing it across the board.
Smoking.
Yeah.
Nice.
And not that this is the only example we have. This is just the latest example, and it's just rocking.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
man, we got a mile-long list of other examples that could have been the same way, that have been the same way. Jeez.
Wow, that's
It's a little different, eh?
It's good to know that I don't have to learn to code.
No, I
so
would
much.
never make you code, dude. I would never make you code. But it goes back to that whole part. I mean, again, we just had a whole episode talking about why you shouldn't learn something, but you can, pretty much pretend how to know it all. I kind of almost feel like I hoodwinked everybody on this one, right? No, my you know how I stand on this.
Yes.
I don't feel that we need to code. We just need to understand every aspect of the space and how it all works together.
Read a couple articles maybe or see a couple of tutorials or something like that.
Dude, ton
but
of stuff.
focus on your design work.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Exactly.
This is your bread and butter at this point.
Even more so, bigger than the design work, think bigger. Think of the bigger picture.
Yes.
Like we always stress, like push forward with brand, push forward with bigger messaging, the bigger hierarching vision, and then figure out how to execute on every one of those, including the digital, the web, and web app opportures. Oh my God, there's so much here.
Yeah, there's a lot.
This is the game changer. This is a big game changer for our company.
Yes.
Cool.
Oh,
wow. That was all right.
Yes.
Spam. I have no idea why I just said that, but spam. That was ridiculous.
That's our thing now. Spam.
I think we're just going to throw weird words that make no sense. Giga.
Umbrella.
Yeah. All right, everybody. I hope you like what you heard today. I hope you don't hate us too much, but we just saved you a hell of a lot of horrible research that you don't need to do.
Right.
All right.
That's right.
Please, by all means, share us with everybody that you know. Forward us on. We love you. So if you love us, just pass on our name, our podcast. Say hi to us on our website at theangrydesigner.com. Hit us up on our Instagram channel because we've got a great channel. We're posting stuff all the time. Join that community because we got so much interaction going on there. We've got a lot of back and forth with people. We're getting people hitting us up on our direct messages. It's a fucking great time over on this one.
Yeah. And don't forget to send us to the people you don't like.
Yeah, right. Let us torture them.
I always like that one.
Yeah, right. No, but most importantly, please, by all means, leave us a review. Hit us up on a review, whether it's on Apple or if it's on Google or Spotify. Let the world know what we've done for you, how we've helped, because honestly, this is how we're going to reach more and more people. It's just through the reviews that we actually give out.
Yeesh.
All right, buddy. I think that's it.
Yeah.
I think that's it. That's all.
Nice.
All right.
All right.
Okay, well, with that being said there, big guy.
Yeah.
My name is Massimo.
And my name is Sean.
Stay creative.
And stay angry.
Peace.